Hello everyone, welcome to another 10 Thoughts Cruising video. Getting quite a lot of these in the series going on, but this one is on Saint Helena.
Saint Helena is a very interesting island in the middle of the South Atlantic, and we were there for, what, 10 days, 12 days? Something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't a very long place, just kind of a stop, rest, and recuperation in the middle of the Atlantic.
Yep.
We are going to have some links down in the description below to the blog post we wrote while we were there, so if you're interested in some more detailed conversations around Saint Helena, definitely recommend you check those out. Also, we're going to have links to each topic we discuss in this video. So if you're only interested in one topic or another, check down there below and you can go watch those ones directly.
Absolutely. All right, starting in.
Let's
Ready?
go!
Number 1 is the history of Saint Helena. Saint Helena is very remote. It's about halfway between Cape Town and Brazil, and the nearest land is 800 miles to Ascension Island.
So it's really in the middle of nowhere.
It's really in the middle of nowhere.
Don't miss it, or you're not coming back to it.
Saint Helena and Ascension are both part of British Overseas Territories, so they are part of the British government.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, you walk into Saint Helena, and it's like
Jamestown.
walking into like a little English village.
Yeah.
It's a little odd in the middle of the South Atlantic.
It is. It's interesting. And part of its remoteness is why it was chosen to be the location of Napoleon's exile.
His second exile, the one that actually stuck, you know, this time. But that's probably the biggest history around in the island, and a lot of people who come to Saint Helena, that's why they come. So they want to do a little Napoleon touring.
Yeah, exactly.
Now for the formalities, section number 2 of our topic, it was pretty easy and straightforward, I think. We didn't have to pay too much. The immigration fees were about £20. Now I'm going to say pounds, but that's Saint Helena pounds. Like, is that the right official term? Because they're not British pounds. They are different. You can only use them on this island. You can't use British pounds. Can't use these pounds elsewhere.
Right. You can't use St. Helena pounds in the UK, but you can use Great British Pound in St. Helena.
So
Silly.
Yeah.
But then they're 1-to-1. They're equivalent, so.
Yes, they're just slightly different for some reason. I don't know. We'll touch a little bit more on that later. But so, immigration, £20 per person. The harbor fee was £35 for the first month. We had a mooring buoy fee that we had to pay, which was free for the first day we were there, but then £2 every day after. And I think they have 2 different sizes. So if your boat is super big, they've got a much stronger one or something that I think was like £3 or £4 a day. But either way,
Most cruising boats are going to be £2 a day.
yeah. So our total for the 2 weeks we were there was about £97, so roughly $120 US, which, I mean, is not terrible.
I mean, for a short visit is kind of a lot, but.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's fair. But the offices were fairly easy to get to, except for the police and immigration, which is way up at the top of the hill. But I think
Yes.
they just changed that
Yeah.
after we left, of course.
The month after we left, they moved the immigration office down to the harbor where the other offices are located. Just our luck.
So that makes it a lot easier for future boats coming in our wake, which is
Yeah.
good. Now, when we arrived, you had to give the authorities there a bit of a heads up. So there was an email you're supposed to, there's a dockmaster, harbor master, you're supposed to email 24 hours in advance to let them know that you're coming. When you get close, there's Saint Helena Radio, and we hailed them on channel 16 on our approach. We got assigned a mooring ball number, and definitely recommend that you pick up a mooring ball there, even though they're a little tricky.
Yeah, there's no like bridle or painter for the mooring balls. So you have to, and the mooring balls are ridiculously heavy, so you can't pull them up.
Yeah,
like
this
a
is not
normal
like you
mooring
have a
ball.
boat hook and you can reach down and grab one up. These are like big ship mooring
Someone
balls.
needs to be at sea level to get you tied up. And
Yeah.
thankfully for us, a fellow cruising boat came out in a kayak and helped us, which was really nice.
Yeah, other boats we saw were literally people were jumping off the bow, going down there. We saw one boat, someone swam in the water to get up to the mooring buoy so they could be on it as the boat came up. It's a challenge for sure, but
Yeah.
it can be done. It's just got to kind of approach carefully. Now, once you do tie up to the mooring ball, there is a ferry service that actually is responsible for taking you to shore. You can take your dinghy, but we'll touch a little bit later why that's not a great idea. And the ferry will take you to shore, and then you can go visit the port captain, the customs, and immigration, and get all the formalities done and out of the way.
Yeah.
Didn't take too long. Everyone was friendly. But
everyone speaks English. It's an English-speaking country.
So that made it pretty easy.
Yeah. And then clearing out was the same thing, just in reverse, basically.
Exact opposite. Clear out, same day, pay the fees, no problem. Off you go.
Yeah. Number 3, anchorages and mooring. The main anchorage/mooring area is in front of Jamestown. Actually, I think it's the only place that you can go. It's in front of Jamestown. It is very deep, and it is very unprotected.
Super duper deep.
It's
super duper unprotected.
Yeah. It's a coral bottom, so it's just best to pick up a mooring ball. We do know that there was like a big boat that anchored out, but mooring balls are definitely better for everyone.
Yeah, the way to go. Now, one thing, when we say it's unprotected, it is a swell can roll through there like something crazy. So you really have to keep an eye on that. If the swell is predicted to come anywhere from the east or from the north, like you are going to be rocking and rolling out there on those mooring balls.
It was even uncomfortable for us sometimes, and as a cat, we're typically a little bit more stable than monohulls.
Yeah. Now, we're going to move on quickly to number 4, and that is the ferry service, which I mentioned earlier. That is definitely the way to get from your boat to shore because that swell and roll is so crazy. They have a wharf that you can go into, but if you're going to tie your dinghy to it, it's going to get bashed to pieces.
Like the water actually swell rises up over the wharf itself, and everything's just, I mean, even sometimes getting off the ferry was hard.
True. They had to kind of time it just right. Sometimes had to take a little bit of a leap of faith to try to get up to the wharf. The ferry service was well worth it. They ran generally from about, I think it was 6 a.m. to about 7 p.m. every day.
Yep.
But you could make arrangements with the ferry captain to do a later run if you wanted to go out to dinner or something
Or
like
an
that.
earlier run if you wanted to. The ferry service doesn't just operate for cruisers, but it also operates for the local fishermen, getting them out to their boats. So I think he starts running the ferry at 4 a.m.
Yeah, it was pretty early. They were moving around and about. But, for future reference, the ferry was about £2, I think, per person for a round trip.
Yep.
The ferry captain had a little book that he would kind of keep track of what boat you're from, and so they could keep track how many trips you did. And then when you were at the end of your trip, you could settle up the bill with the ferry captain. That was kind of easier than trying to pay each trip, just because he was trying to keep his booked, and if you're trying to pay your trip each time, then calculations got a little crazy. So just go by the book.
Yeah.
Easiest way to do it.
Unfortunately, it does add up. If you're going to shore every day, or going back and forth a lot, it's expensive.
Can be, but it's definitely better than taking your dinghy.
Yeah.
Although, we did have a few times where if Amy wanted to go to shore, I could dinghy her in and then dinghy back to Starry Horizons. But we definitely didn't leave Little Dipper down in the water just because of that rolling and swell. Actually, our friend Carlos, his dinghy got swamped in the swell, so just make sure your dinghy up in davits or on deck if you're going to be using it.
Yeah.
So, now, number 5, dining out.
Yeah.
It's good to go eat.
There's a lot of interesting places to eat in Saint Helena. We did go out with some friends, and they packed a Saint's picnic, however you would say that. And the dish that they served us was plo, which is Saint Helena's version of pilaf. It's kind of a rice dish with a little bit of seasoning and some beans and pork and whatever else you got rolling in it, which was very good. It's nice for a little picnic.
And it was really cool, to just get a little homemade meal, which was a lot of fun, and going on a hike. So thanks, guys, for doing that. We appreciate it.
Yeah. In town, we ate at the Consulate Hotel a couple times. That was the hangout for cruisers to get their coffee and get their Wi-Fi. And they had some pretty good baked goods, including local dishes. We also had a nice meal out at the Mantis Hotel with my Uncle Jim as his last night, his second to last night with us. We had a very nice meal. It's kind of more of a upscale ambiance.
I would say that was the upscale place in town for sure.
Definitely. And then the other place we ate at a couple times was Anne's Place, which is more of a casual grilled fare, kind of like lamb chops with French fries and sausages with French fries and lots of things with French fries. I hear that
it's not a bad thing.
I hear that their local fish cakes are really good, but they were out of the fish for it every time we asked, so we didn't get to try that.
Yep, but there are definitely places you can get out and eat ashore if you would like, and a lot of cruisers would kind of get together and have dinners out as well when they were there, and that's when eat out, make sure you arrange that ferry service.
Yeah.
Kind of remind you of that one, because otherwise it's a long swim back to the boats.
We tried to coordinate a bit, like, if we asked for the ferry to pick us up at 9 from shore and take us back to the boat, then the other cruisers would go out to dinner and everybody would get picked up at 9, so.
Yeah. Moving on. Number 6. Talking about banks and ATMs, and we touched a little bit on this earlier with the Saint Helena pounds, but the currency is just a little bit tricky here because there's no ATMs on the island. You have to go to the bank, which is in Jamestown, but they only give you the Saint Helena pounds, which you have to spend before you leave the island, because what else are you going to use them on? Hey, it's raining. We got to go close hatches. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Hatches are closed. Where was I? I think I was talking about banks and ATMs?
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, no ATMs on the island. You have to go to the bank to exchange money. You can use your credit card or debit card to be able to pull cash from the bank. They'll use that to get cash for you. Or you can exchange currency as well.
Yes.
But it's a challenge, and as I said, you can't get anything from the bank other than the St. Helena pounds, which you're not going to be able to use anywhere else in the world, so don't get too much. You want to spend it on the island.
Yeah. Another issue is that most places don't take credit cards.
That can be a challenge.
Yeah, so you have to pay cash with everything.
Yep. And then make sure you don't pull out too much cash. Or find someone you can send it to who's going there later.
Number 7, things to do in Saint Helena. The first thing we did was hike Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah, it's a lot of freaking stairs, man.
699 stairs up.
Up.
It's really close to the harbor in
Jamestown.
Jamestown, thank you. Not St. James.
That
Jamestown. And you go up and up and up, and then you get a great view looking down onto Jamestown and the mooring field, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. Another thing you can do, take a day tour. It was really cool. We rented or hired a driver to take us around for just a day.
An octogenarian driver.
Yeah. Well, he's a character, man.
He was a character.
But we used him to take us around to the island. He showed us a lot of the history of the island, some of the interesting spots, some of a couple of the museums we got a chance to go to. He took us for some local takeout.
Yeah.
Just saw a lot on the day's tour. So that was kind of a neat way to explore the whole island. You can rent a car or a scooter or something there. I would maybe not suggest a scooter because the roads are kind of gnarly. It was nice to have a car to be driving in and have someone who knew where he was going, which was good. But there are ways to get around. Definitely you want to get around to see the island. So Jamestown is cool, but the island itself is just pretty spectacular.
It really is. Absolutely. And it's still got a lot of history with Napoleon, so that was neat.
And that is one thing. Like we did on our day tour, we did get a chance to get out to Napoleon's grave. He's no longer there now because they exhumed him and sent him back to France, but the little spot in the valley he chose is still there. You can walk up to it and see that, which, I mean, he had good taste. It was a nice spot.
It was beautiful. If not a bad place to be buried.
Yep. And you can also visit his house too.
Yes,
Which
his
was
former
there.
house.
His former house, which is a pretty nice museum nowadays.
Yeah. Another thing we saw on our day tour was we visited Jonathan, the oldest tortoise in the world.
Yeah.
He was a gift from Seychelles, and now he lives at the governor's house.
And that dude's old. Like,
yeah,
really, really old.
Very old.
187, I think, right now.
Yep. Another thing we did was with our friends Sharon and Darren, we went and did one of the post box hikes, which was really neat. Basically, there's a collection of hikes around the island, and at the top or the end of the hike, there is a post box with a stamp, so you can, stamp something, but it was very scenic and beautiful, and it really gave us a better sense of what the island looks like on the inside. It's a little brown and rugged when you sail up to it, but the interior is super green and lush.
It's gorgeous, man. It is just so beautiful.
It's very pastoral green. It's very pretty.
Very surprising, to be honest, but well worth it to get, as we said, into the island and actually see that firsthand.
And then the final thing we recommend to do, not the least, but the final thing, is to go swim with whale sharks.
We've tried so many times. We had some good experiences in Madagascar, but this one was just phenomenal.
This one takes the cake. We were on a boat and there were 8 people out, I think, which is the maximum number allowed to swim with a whale shark. We were the only boat out there, and this whale shark was so chill. We swam with him. He just swam around, chased us a little bit. He nudged the bottom of the boat. He just sat tight with us for 45 minutes.
He was like our new best friend, just hanging out, chilling, relaxing.
Yeah.
He wasn't going anywhere fast, so figured to hang around.
And he was a big one.
Yeah.
We have some very cool photos in the blog post, so you should check those out.
Yeah. Now, the airport. Moving on to number 8. There is an airport in Saint Helena, but they kind of forgot something when they were building it. Apparently, they neglected to account for wind shear effect properly, so the big planes, like 737s, can't really land there. Instead, there are only a couple flights that come in from Cape Town or Johannesburg, depending on which time of year, and it's not very often, so I think it's like once a week from Johannesburg, and during peak season you might get once a week flight from Cape Town as well.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to get in and out of St. Helena, which was a bit tricky because we had Amy's Uncle Jim who stayed with us on the passage up to St. Helena, and we had to try to time it so that he could catch his flight back to Cape Town and then fly back to the States. It was a long path for him to go back home.
Prior to the airport opening in 2017, the way you got to St. Helena was by a 5-day mail ship from Cape Town.
It's a long time.
Wow.
On a big ship
Yeah.
in the middle of the ocean.
Definitely.
It's kind of nice to have the airport, I guess, even if it's not the best in the world.
All right, number 9, provisioning. Provisioning in St. Helena was just okay. Fresh produce was a little hard to come by. The quality wasn't super great. There are several stores in Jamestown, like Thorpe's Grocery Store, The Atlantic, and Tinker's, where we were able to buy kind of miscellaneous things. Being so remote, as you can imagine, it's a little hard to get fresh goods. There's a local coffee that's grown in St. Helena, which is rare and expensive. Same with honey. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't super great, but we provisioned hard in Cape Town, and so we were still toting around some things, thankfully.
Yep. Just be prepared. Gonna be a little minimal on the island, but if you need something, you can find at least.
You can. You're not
Something.
gonna go hungry.
No, definitely not gonna go hungry.
Obviously.
Let's move on to number 10, which is internet. Yeah, that's a challenge in St. Helena. We just for fun stopped in at the local SIM card store, and we're told that if you wanted to get a data-only plan, it's about $100 per gigabyte. That's super expensive. So we did not get a SIM card in St. Helena, and instead what all the cruisers do is they go into some of the local businesses which sell kind of Wi-Fi packages that you can access for, depending various times. Usually it was about 13-ish pounds for about 2 hours of internet access, and it wasn't super fast, so it was a bit slow and
pretty slow.
challenging. But that was about the only way you were going to get internet at all.
There were a few days where I got on the 6 o'clock ferry and sat in front of the consulate and tried to upload a video.
Amy was really, really patient, you guys. Like,
It was tough.
we try really hard to get the videos up to you on a regular time, and St. Helena was a big challenge to do so.
Yep.
But one last little quick thing, Marine Services, not a lot here. There were a couple hardware stores I went in for parts. I think I found something at an automotive store, but no chandleries, nothing really to speak of. So try to have everything you can when you leave South Africa.
Absolutely.
Now, wrap up. What did you think of St. Helena?
St. Helena was such a unique place to visit, and it was very interesting from a historical perspective, and the culture of the island being a British territory, but having such a diverse history and demographic was really interesting.
Yeah. Now, I will say, like, it's a great stopping point in the middle of South Atlantic, because otherwise there's just a lot of open ocean you got to cover. If you go straight from South Africa to, or even up to Namibia and then anywhere, you you're sailing for like a month before you hit like Brazil, or even longer than that if you're going straight up to the Caribbean. So Saint Helena is a great kind of little stopover, rest and recuperation. I think almost all the cruisers we knew of kind of stopped there.
I think we knew one cruiser in Cape Town who was going to go straight from Cape Town to the Caribbean in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah. So it's definitely worth a stop for a little rest and recuperation at the very least. And, be prepared. When we were sailing up, it was kind of brown. It looked a little dead from the outside, but as soon as you round that corner into Jamestown and get into that island, it is it's absolutely gorgeous.
We had no idea how beautiful it was and green and lush on the inside.
Yeah. So worth a stop if you're coming up to South Atlantic, I think, most definitely.
Definitely a place that the average tourist has probably never heard of, never mind gone to, because it's so difficult to get to.
That's true. Yeah. Worth a stop on a boat then. Okay, that wraps up next time, what, Brazil?
Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Coming up next. Thanks for watching, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.